Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Katie and today we are working on some more of those mermaids from MERMAY 2021. Before we fully get nestled into this picture, why not hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and please don't forget to have those notifications on so you don't miss any more videos. And with that being said, let's crack on with the video, shall we? The first prompt I am working on is safe, and again, this is another one of those ones where what do I do for it? How do I incorporate a mermaid and a safe? So I went a little bit literal with this, and a safe has been dropped into the ocean, and Finley and Claudia are going to be looking at it and wondering what's in it, what the heck is it? And it just seemed like quite a funny thing to do actually. I blocked off the larger areas first with the deeper colours and worked from the background to the foreground before going in with the details there, and I had to get a new detailer brush for this because my last one was just on its last legs, a little bit like my paints actually. I just want to say a massive thank you to you lovely lot for being so incredibly patient throughout this MERMAY. I know very well that we're in June right now, but each painting can take up to 2 hours alone just to do, and then you have the editing on top, so I'd much prefer to put out a better picture than rush through them like I did last year. And the good thing is the mermaid fun goes on for a little longer, right? I kind of liked the idea I had behind having a literal safe in this because it ties in quite nicely with the next prompt, which we'll get to very shortly. We'll keep talking about this one for now. I decided to go for a very grey looking safe, and that kind of just made it stand out against how vibrant all the other colours I had used, and plus I am having to be I'm going to have to be careful with the paints I'm using now because some colours are really literally down to whatever I can scrape from the sides of the little tubs. For those of you who are new here, I'm using the Himi gouache to do all of these mermaids, which is why it's taking a while. I've had these paints for 2 years and they've done me well, and I'm going to use them until there's nothing left. And of course, with the colours running low, that presents another challenge, but who says the ocean completely has to be blue, right? You have all of these other gorgeous colours with the pink corals and the greens from the seaweed, and the water itself doesn't have to be an exact same blue every time, right? I mean, Finley's blue and I've got to make sure she's got the right blue on it every time, which doesn't bode well because I ended up painting her tail fins twice. I just couldn't quite get that right, so I ended up going over it again, which is the beauty of gouache. I quite like Finley's concerned face on here. I think it's kind of adds a bit of a curiosity and a little bit of concern as what could be inside the safe. However, on the next page, which the prompt is frustrated, Finley's face on here is kind of quite scary, and again this is another thing where I didn't really dig this particular prompt either. I'm not really sure how to convey it unless she's actually frustrated at something, but then we have the safe from the previous picture, which is a brilliant carrier for this prompt. Finley and Claudia are not natural safe crackers and they cannot get in it, so obviously they're very frustrated at this. I didn't want to convey a sulking kind of frustration. I kind of went for full-on rage here. They just cannot get in, and I like how I've got Finley's hands grasping at nothingness throughout anger, and of course poor Claudia is sitting on top of the safe raising her claws again in frustration. Nobody knows what's in it, nobody knows how to get in it. I quite like as well how this is a simplified version of the previous picture and it follows on quite nicely as well. I did try and imagine making a narrative with all of the prompts. I think that would have been quite good, but because the prompt list this year was just awful, I'm afraid it couldn't happen. It would have been very sparse and very loosely threaded, and I have tried to get some of them to sort of follow along, but I I couldn't. Not this year. I think maybe next year when I do MERMAY, I might do my own prompts, and if you'd be interested in joining in with me on that one, I would love to hear that down below. Now, I must admit, this is probably one of a few times I've actually used the black paint from MERMAY Gouache. I tend not to use neat black very often in my work, unless it's obviously pen work. But if it's something with a lot of colour on it, I tend to see what I can do with the colours before having to use the black. I think sometimes it can look odd against other colours, I guess. I've said colours so many times there. But for the long and short of it, I do try and avoid using black outlines, unless it's the Art Nouveau stuff, but that's different. I think for something like this, where I have used heavy layers of colour, just wouldn't look right. Not for me anyway. I must admit, and if I have a takeaway for this year's MERMAY, is next time I do it, I'm going to use a bigger piece of paper. I thought I could be more efficient using a smaller surface to work on and I could get them done quicker, but nope, that hasn't proven the case at all, and it's actually made it about 1,000,000 times harder. However, this next picture did give me a little bit of relief, and it's also a bit of a throwback to my MERMAY work. This prompt was Dragon, and I must admit this was the one I was the most happiest about doing. I thought I would reimagine Finley and Claudia as dragons, and yes, I've already humanised Finley once and now she's been dragonised. I used the same colour that is used for her fishy part of her mermaidness, and for the frills across the back of her head I used her blonde colour. I used the lighter blue on her tail fins and kept that the same, as well as adding that same blue for her, I guess, side fins. It was actually really nice to paint a dragon with these paints after I'd painted so many of them last year. And I was able to transfer those techniques I'd learned and developed straight onto this with ease, and I really did enjoy it. The only thing that I could perhaps critique is that background, but again, the paints are starting to expire and I might have some colours that I can substitute for blue, but because of how old they are and because the containers themselves aren't full, they're drying up and they're going a bit odd, and they can only be, I guess, reactivated so many times before they just can't really function as paints. But we're going to see how we go throughout MERMAY, and I'm going to use them, honestly I am. I used the deepest blue to add some shadows, and I used the white to add some scales as well as the details on the fins and around her face. I actually think Finley looks quite cute as a dragon, and I think Claudia looks even more adorable. Do you think they transferred well into dragons? Let me know what you think. I decided to keep Claudia quite simple on this one as well and just add her a bit of a dragony tail, but she's still got the claws. I like the balance between the two characters. I think Finley's quite complex and detailed, and Claudia's just nice and simple and chilled and adds a nice balance to everything. As well as being Finley's best friend, I think she adds a nice perspective as being a fellow onlooker as well to the situation, and I guess is a nice reflection of what's going on. And sometimes she's sympathetic and sometimes she's exasperated, and I like that. Anyway, here are the 3 that I've managed to squeeze into this video, and don't worry, there will be more coming up soon. I do tend to find when I have a couple of weeks where subscription boxes are due, it kind of just messes the schedule up, and I'd rather get those done and come back to these things. But don't worry, I'm still doing them and you'll still see some more adventures of Finley and Claudia. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and there should be some more lovely things on screen that I think you'll enjoy. A huge thank you to you all for watching and your patience through this series, and I will see you all soon. Bye!